Good evening and welcome to our October 20th, 2015 Ogden City Council meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exceptions of Councilmember Gochner, who is asked to be excused tonight. We will turn the time to Vice Chair White for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Vice Chair Heyer, please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, if you would join with us for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We have next on our agenda is reports from the Planning Commission. The first item is single-family homes in historic buildings. Mr. Montgomery, welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Council. You have before you tonight a recommendation from the Planning Commission regarding an amendment to the ordinance dealing with reuse of historic buildings. The background for this revision deals with the concept that in many instances, historic buildings may have reasons that they've gone vacant, the uses that had been there originally are no longer there, and to try to create an incentive to preserve the historic buildings. Certain regulations were set in place that allowed reuse of historic buildings for other than their original intent, in many cases, in order to have some economic activity that could help maintain that historic structure. What has happened recently is we became aware of a situation where a historic home in a commercial zone, and generally you look at historic homes in residential zones, and they want a commercial use to them. Well, this is a case where you have a historic home in a commercial zone, but the use is desired as residential. Well, past uses had been commercial, which eliminated any right of a non-conforming use since single-family homes are not allowed in commercial zones. But because of the home's importance to the local register, the planning staff felt it would be important to create a provision under that same concept of historic preservation to allow reuse of historic homes as homes in commercial zones so that the buildings could again be functioning. So the consideration you have before you tonight is to look at an amendment that would allow that type of activity to be looked at by the Planning Commission as a special use where a home may have lost its non-conforming right in a commercial zone, but under this historic resource protection would be allowed to reestablish that right of a use as a dwelling in a commercial zone, which is a little, like I said, a little bit different from the other provisions of this ordinance where we allow reuse of a historic building for some commercial type uses like offices or things like that when they're zoned residential. So this is reversing that and putting it in a commercial zone to allow it to be a home.
Any questions for Mr. Montgomery?
How many of these do you think there are in the city?
That are presently on the register, there's 2. There are potential for other homes to be on the register that are in commercial zones, but they're presently not on the register.
And they divide these homes up into apartments, so to speak?
Under the commercial zoning, they could. So without this provision, they could make it a multiple unit, but where this person wants it just to be a single family home, and that's how the home was originally built, we feel that's a more appropriate way to go with that, rather than dividing homes up.
Any further questions? Thank you. We would like to accept public input on this petition. Is there anyone that would like to address the council concerning this item? Okay. Do we have any comments or resolution from the council?
Chair Heyer, I think this is a good thing for those historic buildings to maybe bring them back into the purpose for which they were originally intended, and would make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2015-46.
I second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wicks, second one by Councilmember Stevens to adopt ordinance 2015-46. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Councilmember Garner?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Heyer?
Aye, that passes. Next item on our agenda is concerning post-high school educational institutions in commercial zones.
Okay. And this item also is one that was Planning Commission generated. It came from a petition that took place a while ago, and you have actually acted on that petition to create a definition for post-high school education and to allow it in the professional institution zones. As that discussion was taking place, the commission asked staff about, well, where else do we have these post-high school education facilities where we haven't defined them in the past? And the commercial zones became one of those areas that we've identified where we have such things as beauty colleges, private colleges, and by definition, they should never have been allowed, even though they were permitted and they were a vibrant part of the community. So we looked at that error we had in the ordinance and determined it would be appropriate to make a correction, to revise the ordinance to allow post-high school education facilities in the commercial zones, the CBD, the commercial C1, C2, C3 zones. This is that correction to legally permit what we've been doing for years.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Montgomery about this one? All right, good thing you caught this. It sounds
Yes.
like we need to catch these little bugs once in a while.
It's amazing how long we've been doing this.
Thank you. We'd also like to accept public input on this petition. Is there anyone that would like to address the council concerning this one?
Virginia Hernandez, resident. I have a couple of questions. Okay, post-high school educational institution. He just mentioned like maybe beauty colleges. Is this the kind of education this is referring to? Or, okay, post-high school education, that is not applying to any high school in Ogden, does it?
It would not include high schools.
High school.
Anything post-high school.
Okay. The other question is, if this has been in the planning, where are the people? Where are your constituents? Are they aware of these decisions?
Well, I can just repeat what Mr. Montgomery said. This is kind of a cleanup item. It's something that we've been allowing for decades.
Decades?
Yeah, and
What do you mean? Excuse me. You're allowing for decades,
we have allowed it for decades.
and your constituents are not aware of it for decades?
Well, they've been allowed to operate.
Oh, to operate. Okay, so when do constituents get involved to say yes or no?
Maybe we better let Mr. Montgomery talk about
That would be
that.
good. Okay, so I
Any
sit
other
down?
questions before you?
Okay, let me see. So, yes, that's, okay. No, at this point, that would be the only one.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Would you like to address that?
So how this came about was a petition by an individual who wanted to operate a facility for education of those who have already graduated from high school, again, the post-high school scenario, and received further training. And as we started to look, there had been a definition in the ordinance for years about educational institutions, and the assumption had always been made that included any type of education taking place. After further review, I was realizing that it only was from K to 12 in terms of grade. And so places like Stevens, Henniger, University of Phoenix, those other types of facilities, which had been applied for as with licenses under an education facility, really did not meet that definition, even though, again, for years, as you mentioned, we've allowed them. And so this is to clean that up, to make it clear that those are permitted uses in the city, that we're not going to all of a sudden say, no, those don't have a place, but that they do have a place in the city and they should belong here. Is the public, with a typical ordinance amendment, is the public notice in the paper to the planning commission meeting. They hold a public hearing, and after that public hearing, then the recommendation is forwarded to you for this public meeting to then look at the input and make a final determination.
Did you have any residents come in and
No.
talk to the planning commission?
No. Again, it's something that everyone assumes is fine because they see it going on all the time, so there's really not a clamor that this is harmful and we need to stop this.
And it's really just cleaning up the definition so that it
Can continue
reflects
on.
what's happening and it's clear what's
Correct.
going on. If
Correct.
somebody were to look up the code, that definition would be there.
It is a good thing. It's to, if somebody does apply and it's not allowed, now they'll see, it's allowed, and I
Yeah.
can come in and do
But,
a beauty college or auto mechanics school or, anything that's post-high school.
Correct.
I think it's a positive entity for us, and we do put our agenda on for public review also, and so any of the public who have a question or concerns, they could come in and voice their concerns at this particular time.
Correct.
And all that code is online, too.
Great. Okay, thank you. I should have asked if there was any other comments before we had Mr. Montgomery come up. Anyone else wish to address this? Okay. Do we have a resolution?
Chair Heyer, I'll make or propose that we adopt ordinance 2015-47. Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Garner, seconded by Councilmember Blair, to adopt ordinance 2015-47. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Garner,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks,
Aye.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye, that passes. Next item on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please state your name and address clearly for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Marilyn Odell. I'm president of Cherrywood Condominiums, which is at 1120 Canyon Road. I've come to ask the city council for some help with our water bill, and I'll have to give you a little background. Cherrywood was completed in about 1980, and at the time it was designed to be 3 times bigger than the ending 44 units that we now have. At the beginning of the construction, an 8-inch meter was installed to serve this larger development. However, the developer went bankrupt. The bank took the condominiums and sold them and sold off the undeveloped land. So we have a smaller condominium still with the 8-inch meter. Over the years, our water rates have gone from less than $3,000 per year to over $37,000, an increase of about 10 times, while our maintenance fees that we charge our owners have only gone up 3 times. So we had an engineering firm look at what size water meter we really need, and they have decided that we need a 3-inch meter. We did an estimate, or had someone do an estimate of the cost to change the meter, and that cost would be $12,000. We also have a fire hydrant that is on our culinary line, and we understand that the line would not be big enough, a 3-inch line wouldn't be big enough for a fire hydrant. If we connect the fire hydrant to the city line, that would cost us $18,000. So the total of what we would need to do to change would be $30,000, and that would result in a decrease to the city of our additional amount that we're paying now, and a cost to us of $30,000. We come to ask for a reduction in our base bill so that we could have the same bill as what it would be for a 3-inch meter. It would be the same result to the city, but it would save us the upfront cost. We've heard that other people have had waivers before, and as a matter of fact, I understand that we had a waiver once, although I don't have any written record of it. But I know that our bill has been up and down. However, now we're told, I've talked to the water department, the head of the water department, and he said a waiver is not possible now. So I'm appealing to the city council as a last resort. We need to move forward with this project if we're going to make the change. But I'd like to get the city council's input as to whether there is any possibility of a waiver.
We probably ought to refer you to mayor or administration.
And the Director of Public Works, Jay Letters, am very informed with this decision and be more than happy to talk after.
Okay, so if you could raise your hand, Jay, if you could meet with him right after this meeting and talk about the potential to give you some relief for that. That'll be all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's also mentioned that it is a gated community, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? And so in order for them to operate that, I imagine they'd have a special key to go into if they needed to use that fire hydrant. Is that right?
For who to operate?
The fire department, if they needed
The
to
fire
come in.
department has a code to come
okay.
in. Yes, that's necessary for a gate.
Yeah.
And for clarification, the only thing then, if I understand correctly, you want the billing reduced to a 3-inch line billing,
Yes.
but also to tie the fire hydrant into the larger line.
If we don't change our line, then we will leave the fire hydrant as it is. It's as it is now.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And do you have potential to build upon the part that is not built upon?
No, that land was sold by the bank when the loan was defaulted. So that the land is no longer
Yours to build?
vacant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome.
I am here again. My name is Sebastian Benitez, 3310 Taylor Avenue. It was really nice to have the panel yesterday, last night with you guys. It was a nice experience. I am learning a lot. And I was thinking was not appropriate to talk about last night, but I think this is the best place to talk about it. I understand the budget is public. We can have access for the budget. Everybody can do it. And I don't know the law. I tried to investigate. I don't find it yet, but I don't find any opposition about to disclose the salary about every single worker in the city. I request to be public, then everybody can see how much money you are making, guys. And last night we was talking about transparency and clear administration, and I like to see that one. And I don't know if that is possible, but I think it's possible. I don't find any regulation about it to restrict the information, because I received 4 days ago the report about every single people paycheck from Ogden City, and consequently it's public. But I wanted the Ogden City put that one for everybody can know how much money we make or you make in the city. and the report is like 1,931 payment in the last 2014 fiscal period. And I find a lot of things I really do not understand, and I like to understand, to be clear and clean and transparent administration. That is my request.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if we want to have Mr. Williams talk about that one at all, or?
Utah's right, has
Yeah,
all of the salary
all on there.
information for all of the cities.
We give
school
out salary
districts.
information at the budget time by position, and I'm happy to get a copy.
So it's available in several ways.
Yeah, it is.
I have everything. I don't need to, you don't need to give me. It's just for the public.
Okay. Anyone else wish to address the council today? Okay. Comments from our mayor?
Sure. I'd like to invite everybody out this Saturday for one of my daughter's favorite events, the Witch Stalk and Zombie Crawl. I know they've been working hard in our special events group, and that's always a fun welcome to Halloween. And then just quickly, because I don't know when I may or may not get the chance to do it again, I'd like to congratulate Weber State out of winning 4 of their last 5 football games. And those that have been there for a little while now, that's been a bit of a drought. I heard it's been since 1987. So huge props to Weber, and hopefully we get to keep that going.
Great, thank you. Council members, any comments?
I make a prediction they're going to win this week, so.
He's got a good record
Worked
on this
last time, I
prediction
know,
thing.
yeah.
Or is he jinxing it?
I just want to encourage everybody to get out and vote if they get out and vote. Mail in their ballot if they haven't done so already. It looks like we've started a pretty good turnout, and would like to make sure that we all get out and do that. So.
Yeah, encourage your neighbors to find their ballot and research the issues and the candidates and vote, so we can get our percentage of registered voters up a little bit. That's an important thing for our free land, is that people vote. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments? Okay, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
A motion by Councilmember Garner, seconded by Councilmember Wicks to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, just as a reminder, there will be a city council work session immediately after this meeting, and we will have a council mayor discussion.